The council echoed with uncertainty when Qui-Gon Jinn fell on Naboo and the boy was brought to Coruscant. Instead of delegating Anakin to Obi-Wan, Mace Windu did something unexpected. He offered to train him personally. The justification came firm. The boy burns like a sun. Either we guide him, or we will be consumed. Yoda narrowed his eyes, perceiving the audacity, and responded calmly, "Difficult, the path will be, but wise perhaps the risk is." Thus was born an unlikely partnership, in which Windu's relentless style would be the blade that would forge the storm called Skywalker. The temple felt the displacement of destiny in its very marble. The first day in the training hall was a storm of relentless corrections, timed pauses and returns without rest. Windu repeated, "Control is freedom. Speed without mind is weakness." Anakin accepted the master's blows like hammer strikes forging steel, and he always rose faster than he fell. "Teach me how to fight like you," he asked, between one sequence and another. "Fighting like me is accepting the weight of each choice," Mace returned firmly, and the boy felt he was being shaped for something he did not yet understand. Yoda observed from afar, attentive to the bond forming between temperament and firmness. "Dangerous it is, but promising also," murmured the old master, his hands resting on his staff. Windu did not retreat. "I will keep him on the blade's edge, where he learns not to fall. On the edge wisdom must be," Yoda responded, half closing his eyes. Anakin, upon hearing, said only, "I will not fall," and he felt the weight of the promise like a mantle upon his shoulders. In the library, Anakin studied ancient forms, philosophy treatises, battle records, and accounts of forgotten masters. Windu pointed out passages and asked for summaries, training the mind as much as the saber. "Acting without thinking is betraying the Force," he would say, interrupting any impulse. "I think fast," Anakin retorted, restless. "Then learn to think silently," Mace responded with a rare half-smile, and the Padawan's mind began to slow down without losing its fire. In meditation exercises, Anakin's impatience beat like waves against ancient rocks. Windu placed the young man before the windows of Coruscant and said, "Hear the city, then hear what lies beyond it." Anakin closed his eyes, and the noise transformed into patterns, like constellations of sounds. "I'm hearing. I can separate them," he murmured. "Separate and reunite again," said Mace, guiding him through the rhythm of breathing. And a new silence grew within him, tense and clear. In the closed dojo, the master presented sequences with the precision of a clock. Anakin imitated and adapted, as if each strike had been born for his hand. "It's not enough to hit, you must choose why you hit," Windu reminded, motionless after each combination. "I choose to protect," the Padawan responded without hesitation. "Then also choose what you will not do," Mace cut in, pointing out the risk of excess. And the definition of limits became part of the training. They traveled on smaller missions, where Anakin would see the effects of war in the simple corridors of common people. Windu made him negotiate, refuse glories, accept polite humiliations when necessary. "Power without service is disguised tyranny," the master taught, while returning credits to an elder. "I want to be remembered for peace, not for duels," said Anakin, surprised by what he felt. "Then learn to win before drawing the saber," Mace responded, and the young man began to understand the value of retreat. Back at the temple, perception lessons increased in difficulty. Windu turned off the lights, moved like a shadow, and Anakin had to predict, not react. "Anticipating is not guessing, it's reading the inevitable," Mace whispered in the dark. "I'm seeing your shoulder. I feel your intention," Anakin returned, spinning at the exact moment. "Then translate that reading into decision," the master concluded, and the blades crossed with sounds of contained thunder. The boy's fame grew, and with it the council's vigilance. "He advances too fast," a knight warned, apprehensive about the pace. "He advances in the right direction," Windu responded, taking responsibility. Yoda approached Anakin in the courtyard and said, "Patience. You must love." "I will honor the order, Master Yoda," The young man responded with raw sincerity. Honor yourself. First you must. The elder concluded, turning slowly. One night, in the hangar, Mace placed 2 sabers in his hands. You will train with both to understand the weight of simultaneous choices. Anakin alternated rhythms, crossed angles, heard the twin humming and smiled without noticing. It's like hearing 2 songs and dancing both, he said, breathless. Learn to silence one when necessary, the master responded, and the training doubled in intensity. In the refectory, the conversation was short and definitive. I want to be the Republic's best protector, said Anakin, facing the master. Don't want to be the best, want to be the necessary, Mace returned with calm firmness. Then I will be the necessary, whatever it costs, the Padawan promised. Beware of promises too large for one heart, the master advised. And the 2 finished the meal in understanding silence. When the initial cycle ended, Windu took him to the central hall. You've learned to stand within the wind, said Mace, positioning himself in front of him. And I want to learn to walk against it, Anakin responded, raising his chin. Then let's go deeper, the master concluded, activating the purple saber. Yes, master, said the apprentice without wavering, and the violet blade illuminated the beginning of a new stage. The second cycle began with rules that seemed like iron bars, and Anakin decided to accept them as if they were his own. Windu hardened schedules, reduced concessions, and cut compliments to the bare minimum. Only results speak, he would say, while pushing the limit each day. I can go beyond, Anakin responded, facing his own sweat as an ally. Then go beyond without losing yourself, Mace warned, attentive to the cracks of excess. And the young man learned to transform ambition into method. In simulated combats, Windu demanded controlled aggression, a tide that advances and retreats in the right tempo. Continuous pressure, narrow focus, broad vision. The master repeated, almost hypnotically. Anakin attacked like a storm that knows its map, stopping millimeters away when ordered. Don't break what you promised to guard, Mace reminded, always at the end. I know when to stop, Anakin said, more convinced with each training. And the trust between them began to sound like a single step. Dangerous missions emerged, and Windu took Anakin to zones where error costs lives. On a mining planet, local leaders tried to bribe them to choose a side. We have no sides, we have duty, Mace affirmed, refusing the offer without hesitation. If they insist, they will have the saber's answer, Anakin completed, firm and calm. The men retreated upon recognizing the strength that didn't need to shout. And the city regained order with a fair agreement. Windu's aggression was not anger, it was combat architecture, and Anakin began to imitate it naturally. He learned to close distance, to use the enemy's mistakes as levers, and to deny space to future strikes. Master the next move that hasn't happened yet, Mace taught, prefiguring openings. I see the void where the strike forms, Anakin said with a concentrated gleam. Then occupy that void first, the master finalized, satisfied inside, and each duel transformed into a study of inevitability. Yoda called Windu for a short conversation in the council. Fast he grows, balance must maintain, the elder warned, serene in his concern. I bind him to duty, not to pride, Mace responded without defensiveness. Right bindings, light they must be, said Yoda with a slight nod. He is not alone, master, Windu assured, remembering the partnership built, and the decision was to maintain the course with even more attentive eyes. In mental resistance exercises, Mace introduced calculated provocations to test stability. You get irritated when contradicted, he pointed out without detours. I get irritated when justice is delayed, Anakin returned, sincere. Then anticipate justice without harming the innocent, the master countered, hard and fair. I will find the measure, the apprentice promised, lowering the tension. And balance began to appear in critical moments. There was a simulation in which Anakin had to protect a diplomat and capture a terrorist at the same time. Windu narrated the crisis in his ear through the communicator, demanding decisions at the pace of a broken clock. "Choose the essential, not the complete," he ordered, when everything threatened to collapse. "The essential is to save the diplomat and surround the other later," Anakin decided, moving diagonally. The exercise ended successfully and with contained breaths from the support team. "You're learning to cut the unnecessary," Mace approved. Back at Coruscant, whispers arose about the speed of Windu's Padawan's ascension. More conservative masters summoned reports and requested additional limits, fearing the precedent. "I answer for him," said Mace, presenting data, missions, and metrics without vanity. "I answer for myself," Anakin added, facing the masters with firm respect. Yoda concluded, "Judge by fruits, we will," and the council continued dividing caution and hope in equal measures. Windu then presented training with double blades, rotating defenses, and abrupt transitions. "I want your foundation to withstand the world's impact," he explained, while advancing like a technical gale. Anakin absorbed the rhythm and created a signature of strikes that seemed like compressed music. "Are you too sharp?" the master provoked, testing self-criticism. "I'm sharp enough not to cut those I shouldn't," the Padawan responded, and Mace nodded with the satisfied look of one who believed in the process. In short conversations, the two aligned purpose and destiny. "I want my power to protect, not oppress," Anakin said, already without the old anxiety. "Power that protects is born from accepted limits," Mace returned, punctuating phrases like clean strikes. "I accept the limit that keeps me just," the apprentice affirmed with conviction. "Then let's present the form that demands courage," the master concluded, preparing the next step. And Anakin felt that something decisive was about to be revealed. Windu took Anakin to a silent hall, closed to doors and eyes, where only the purple blade knew the ground. "Vapad is lightning in a circle, a dart that returns to center without losing itself," he explained, without ceremony. "I want to learn to dance in that circle," said Anakin with full attention. "Dancing is not enough. You must conduct the music," Mace corrected, activating the first sequence. The blades cut the air, and the rhythm seemed born from a drum inside the chest, and the young man entered the design with hungry precision. The following days became a controlled whirlwind, while Mace taught the art of spinning aggression without drinking it. "Channel, don't consume," he repeated, like a sculpted mantra. Anakin felt the energy rise like fire and descend like rain, without poisoning the spirit. "It's like holding lightning and pointing it at the right void," he described, breathless. "Exactly, but never at yourself," the master warned, weighing each syllable, and the form took place in the chosen one's hands. During the process, Anakin opened his secret with the courage he had learned. "I married Padme," he confessed without detours, while deactivating the saber. Windu remained silent for a second that seemed larger than the room. "Then I will answer for this along with you," said Mace, choosing protection. "I don't want to lie to the Order," Anakin completed, feeling relief and fear at the same time. "Neither do I want you to lie," the master assured, guiding him to the council. In the council, severe looks and measured words filled the air. "Broke rules, grave they are," said Yoda, looking deep into the boy's heart. "He broke and told me. What few would." Windu cut in, raising his voice at the right point. "He sought guidance, not excuses." Mace continued, with clean firmness. Anakin spoke. "I chose to love and choose to serve the Republic with all truth, and the silence that came after weighed like a verdict not yet spoken. The decision came with layers of prudence and understanding. Remains in the Order, under surveillance and doubled commitment," Mace announced, echoing the obtained consensus. "Grateful I am. I will honor this," said Anakin, bowing before all. Yoda added, "Difficult path it will be, but possible. I see. We won't break a protector because of a love that hasn't betrayed us," Windu summarized, closing the subject. And Padme became a discrete part of a now-named secret. Back at the hall, Vapad deepened like a spiral of tame lightning. Mace intensified the tests, requiring Anakin to channel the fury of fictional adversaries without touching it inside. You will taste shadow, you will spit light, the master described without gentle metaphors. I already feel it, and I don't feed on it. The apprentice responded, confident and attentive. That is the line that separates us from those who fall, Mace pointed out, with conviction, and the line remained clear with each spin. Anakin then began to combine Vapad with predictive readings, seeing openings before they fully emerged. I know where the strike will be born, he said, adjusting his feet. Make the strike be born where you want, Mace returned, turning defense into attack. The training resulted in a symphony of movements that seemed inevitable. It's as if I were the rail where the enemy's blade slides, Anakin explained, smiling for the first time in days. And you decide where the rail ends, the master completed, satisfied. Life with Padme continued in parallel, made of whispered promises and cautious choices. I will be whole when you return, she said, holding his hand before a mission. I always return to you, Anakin responded, without dramatizing courage. Windu knew and protected without invading. Honor both loyalties, the one you chose and the one you swore. I will honor both, Master, the knight assured, balancing worlds. And the secret ceased being shadow to become responsibility. There was an extraordinary session in which masters requested more severe punishment. Windu didn't yield half a step. I answer for every act of his and for his truth. Defend because you believe, I see, said Yoda, reading his friend's wager. I defend because I saw the boy choose light within the storm, Mace responded, without unnecessary emotion. Will serve as living example of discipline, the council concluded, recording the decision, and Anakin felt the weight transformed into mission. At the apex of learning, Mace proposed a public duel between masters and knights to evaluate the form. Anakin entered the silent arena and let Vapad sing without arrogance. Blades touched the air like bells, and adversaries were disarmed before understanding the geometry of combat. I'm not fighting against you, I'm fighting for what we must protect, he said, after the last touch. Windu merely nodded, looking at the council without asking for praise. And the rumor of a disciplined chosen one crossed Coruscant. Padme met him at dusk in the upper gardens. Are you whole? She asked, measuring the fatigue in his beloved face. Whole and at peace, Anakin responded, resting his forehead against hers. Then return to me when you can, and return to the Republic when you must go, she said, mature in discreet courage. I will return to both because they are the same purpose, he assured, sincere, and night covered the temple with a deserved silence. When war broke out like thunder that refuses to leave, Anakin was already more than a disciplined prodigy. He led detachments with surgical precision, saving entire cities by preferring intelligent sieges to quick victories. Winning without waste is the only acceptable victory, he told generals who asked for haste. Windu observed the reports and saw there his own philosophy amplified. He's ready to unite blade and command, Mace decided, calling the council. And the doors opened to the next step. The council recognized the chosen one's value and stability. Seat to him we will give, said Yoda, with the conviction that had come from many tests. Seat and vote, Mace added, cutting through old hesitations. Anakin spoke little. I will serve better from here and in the field. And will be charged twice, a veteran master reminded, without hostility, and the agreement was sealed with the gravity of great deeds. The following campaigns showed a commander who seemed to read maps like sheet music. He predicted ambushes, changed routes at the last minute, and saved fleets by accepting strategic retreats. Holding position is also advancing. He taught captains, aligning bravery and calculation. Windu, in constant communication, only said, decide and sustain. I decide and I assume, Anakin responded, not hiding from occasional errors. And the Allies' trust grew even on the most distrustful planets. After a decisive cycle, the Council elevated Anakin to Master of the Order, a rare and demanding function. Why me? He asked Windu in private conversation. Because you learned to carry lightning without burning yourself inside, Mace responded, with a slight gleam in his eyes. Then I will carry it for all of us, Anakin affirmed, accepting the weight. Carry it for the just, not for pride, the friend and mentor advised. And the temple adjusted its routine to the new leadership. As master of the order, Anakin instituted joint training between generals and knights, reducing deadly noise. If the bridge collapses, the saber doesn't arrive in time, he said, uniting logistics and philosophy. He took young Padawans on observation missions to see justice in motion, not only in books. Protection begins before battle, he repeated, with the authority of one who proved it in the field. Yoda, satisfied, commented, "Mature he is, yes." And Windu smiled from the corner, seeing prophecy gain practical contours. At Kashyyyk, Anakin coordinated evacuations and opened humanitarian corridors under heavy fire. "I stay last," he said, boarding civilians without theatricality. "General, the clones ask if you're returning," a captain warned. "I return when everyone has left," he responded, firm as steel. The maneuver succeeded, and Wookiees beat their fists in honest gratitude. And the galaxy heard stories of a master who abandoned no one. There were, however, intrigues in the Senate, and the Chancellor's figure began to grow beyond reasonable. "Too much power in too few hands," Windu commented, evaluating emergency decrees. "He claims necessity," Anakin pondered, but noted each step carefully. "Necessity that doesn't return what it took. Danger it is," Yoda grumbled, worried. "If he breaks the line, I will see it," the master of the order assured, cold in commitment, and he kept the pieces on the broader board. R2-D2 accompanied critical operations, hearing short and precise commands. "Little friend, save that route and lock this hangar," Anakin asked, during a tight extraction. The astromech beeped as one who understands more than he shows and did what was needed. "When this is over, you choose the first race," the master joked, easing tension. "Focus," Mace reminded, through the channel, in a tone of hidden smile, and the mission ended with the same discipline it began. Padme, now in more frequent danger, became the silent compass of balance. "I wait for you and support you, but I don't hold you," she said, knowing the life they chose. "And I return to you and to the peace we represent," Anakin responded, grateful for that courage. The relationship ceased being a suffered secret to become adult pact. "Honor what you chose," Windu advised, with respect. "We will honor it, Master," they both promised, looking at the horizon. The resistance of previously reluctant masters also grew. "He changed," one of them admitted after an impeccable operation. "No, he found himself," Mace corrected, with serenity. "I found the place where my power serves," said Anakin, closing the cycle's final report. "And where your power serves, the order breathes," Yoda concluded, and time seemed to point to an inevitable rightness. The final pieces moved when Anakin saw the truth behind the Chancellor's smile. "He is a Sith," he said to his mentor, with the firm voice of one who no longer carries doubts. Windu held his gaze for a second and nodded. "We'll arrest him now." "I'm going with you," Anakin declared, without asking permission. "You go as master of the order and as my ally," Mace confirmed, already walking, and the two departed as a single decision. Upon entering the Chancellor's chambers, courtesy died in the first sentence. "In the name of the Republic, you are under arrest," Windu declared, without raising his tone. Palpatine tilted his head and whispered, "Anakin, together we could save what you love." "Not with me," the Chosen One responded, stepping one pace ahead of the Master. "Surrender now," Mace completed without gaps, and the mask fell with a snap. The red saber emerged like an ancient scream, and the attack came straight at Windu's chest. Anakin moved before impact, bringing the fight to himself and opening space for his mentor. The blades drew storms, and Vapad shone in perfect circle, and the Sith found a wall that moved. Palpatine changed strategy, eroding distances and trying to break the tempo. Anakin spun inside the strike and disarmed him for an instant, cutting the enemy's guard. "Stop now," he warned, offering surrender for the last time. The Chancellor laughed and opened his hands in a gesture that had destroyed many before. Blue lightning leaped like hungry snakes toward the young man. "Now," said Mace, seeing the decision born in his pupil's eyes. Anakin raised his hands and shaped the Force's rays like one holding molten metal and transforming it into shield. The energy ricocheted in the air, drawing arcs that found no flesh. "You didn't corrupt me when I was a boy, you won't take me now," he said, advancing against the torrent. He walked, step after step, until the Sith lost ground and fell against the window frame. A last jet of lightning departed, and Anakin redirected it to the ceiling, extinguishing the fury. Windu approached, keeping the blade centimeters from the enemy's neck. Palpatine, deformed by his own discharge, tried the final trick. "Mercy, Master Jedi, I can offer knowledge that saves lives." "Lives you ruined to get here," Mace responded without trembling. "Anakin, think of Padme," the Sith whispered, scraping his voice. "I thought of her, and it's for her that I choose justice." The Chosen One responded, motionless inside. The room seemed to hold Coruscant's collective breath. Windu looked at his ally and at the abyss he had conquered. "Too dangerous to be left alive," he declared, remembering the Republic above all. "I agree," said Anakin, without hesitation, feeling prophecy gather at the center of his chest. Palpatine tried to raise a sigh of threat, but there was no time for new masks. The blade descended in a clean stroke, ending the shadow that had fed the war, and a heavy silence broke into relief. Upon returning to the temple, clones moved under codes that lost their remote master. "Cease special orders, maximum priority," Anakin transmitted to loyal commanders. Windu convoked the council and spoke simply. The threat fell. The Republic breathes. Yoda closed his eyes for an instant. "Balance brought today, yes?" "It was the right choice," said the Master of the Order, more human than victorious. And the temple became home again, not trench. In the Senate, Organa and allies presented evidence of the underground conspiracy that sustained the dead man's power. Padme spoke with the serenity that always defined her, asking for reforms that would return checks and balances. "We won't trade one savior for another," she said firmly. Anakin stood at the margin, as befits those who serve without seeking stage. "Do what is right and let them tell the story without you," Windu advised in low voice. And the Republic chose to breathe as a republic once more. In the council, Anakin's absolution for the marriage was confirmed with mature terms. Clear commitments, balance maintained, Yoda recorded, satisfied with the path walked. "He is proof that discipline and love need not exclude each other," Mace affirmed, without rhetoric. "And that truth protects those who sustain it," added a previously reluctant master. Padme entered discreetly, was received with respect, and nothing needed to be hidden. And the Order gained a living example instead of a guilty secret. Anakin visited the empty halls at day's end and rested his hand on the high windows of Coruscant. "I promised to serve, and today I fulfilled it," he said softly, to himself and to the force that crossed through him. Windu approached and stood at his side, without rush to speak. "You didn't win for me. You won for all of us," the mentor finally said. "I won because you taught me where power ends and justice begins," the Chosen One responded. And the two remained looking at the city, guardians of a future that, this time, had a real chance. In the following months, Anakin consolidated peace with training reforms, support for wounded planets, and attention to war orphans. "Peace is cultivated, not declared," he repeated, visiting worlds where scars still hurt. Padme walked at his side in civil moments, and together they represented public commitment. R2, D2 continued beeping stories to young Padawans, who laughed without knowing they almost lost them. Yoda observed, satisfied with the achieved balance, and said, "Learned they have." And Windu, finally, could rest part of his gaze, certain that the lightning was in the right hands. The prophecy was not a single thunder, but a sequence of aligned decisions. Anakin did not fall, did not yield to easy promise, and did not deny the love he had chosen. He led, protected, listened and fought when necessary, without losing himself from center. "Yes, master," he said one night, remembering the first day he accepted discipline. "Now you are the master of the necessary," Mace responded with a rare, complete smile, and the Force finally seemed at peace with its own story.